Well, the headline yesterday morning when I got up said, James O'Keefe does it again. And he has certainly done it again. Filmmaker shows Ebola-infected ISIS terrorist sneaking across Lake Erie from Canada to Cleveland and into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame without being challenged once, with bags marked ricin and Ebola and other little goodies in a rubber terrorist-style boat that you see in every movie, in a black jihadi outfit, drives all the way across Lake Erie from Canada, right up to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and then walks in with the simulated bioweapon bag. This is true journalism, illustrating how we're wide open. Whether you believe in the terror attacks being manufactured or not, we've lost all our basic liberties. We're being told Homeland Security is to keep us safe, but it's pointed at the Tea Party, gun owners, journalists, like we saw in Ferguson, where the police wouldn't go after looters, they'd go after mainline journalists. This is what they're being trained to do. And so James O'Keefe, who's been arrested himself by the feds for exposing Acorn, you name it, and Battleground, Texas, the Democrats saying they'll engage in crime to open the borders up to get our guns. I mean, this guy is just like Dinesh D'Souza under massive attack. So James O'Keefe joining us, ProjectVeritas.com. Wow, you've done it again. Another example of illustrating just how absurd supposed our borders security being.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. And I saw your report back on, was it Friday or Saturday, where you crossed the Mexican border posing as an ISIS terrorist. So we actually followed up on our report on the border and did one crossing Lake Erie, also dressed up like an ISIS terrorist, and crossed Lake Erie into the United States while wearing that black trademark terrorist mask, and nobody detected us. And we had bags of fake ricin and bags of Ebola, fake Ebola. And we walked right into the United States, right into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, thus showing our leaders have lied to us about the fact that our borders are secure.
Incredible. We're showing video of it right now. Describe it blow by blow, and then what the response has now been.
Well, it was pretty simple. We chartered a boat, went out into Lake Erie towards Canada. We had a little skiff, like a little Zodiac a boat that we had our terrorists get on, and this was about 20 miles off the coast of the United States, and we had the skiff approach the boat with the bags of ricin, board our charter boat, and then take it all the way to the United States. And there's a dock right next to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that we got onto shore and walked. And remarkable, no one noticed it. We actually interviewed the fishing boat captain. He says he never even sees Border Patrol on the Canadian border. He's been doing that for 20 years. And you're supposed to self-report. So if you're a terrorist, the captain told us you're just supposed to self-report the fact that you're about to conduct terrorist activities. It's pretty outrageous stuff. And like I said, I mean, our leaders need to be truthful about the status of our borders. They are not being truthful. So my hope is that these videos outrage people and force people to do something about it.
We've got top Spanish TV hosts swimming across the Rio Grande to show how easy it is and to invite a further invasion. Doesn't this prove the whole war on terror domestically really is a hoax?
Well, I mean, that's an interesting question. It's certainly we are not getting, I mean, we just had Senator Reid say our borders are secure. We had Janet Napolitano say our borders are secure. So they are not being honest with the American people about what is going on. And we're just trying to show people the truth. I mean, I don't think people even know that this is happening. I didn't even know what it was like on Lake Erie. I didn't know that if you had a boat filled with weapons and drugs, you can get into the United States. And the guy that beheaded the journalist, James Foley, he had a British passport. You don't need a visa to get into Canada if you're from Great Britain. So this is actually plausible. This is something that could happen. We're now, 2 days before this 9/11 anniversary. So I think people need to know the truth about their borders. They need to know what's going on in their country because our elected officials are lying to them.
Well, God forbid any of these real ISIS terrorists, these nutballs, get in and kill a few hundred, a few thousand people. That'd be horrible. But the even bigger threat is how we're losing our freedom because of this ongoing supposed threat, but our borders wide open. But the TSA naked body scans us and, inspects every baby diaper. I mean, this really is just about training us to be slaves.
I mean, the TSA, it's sort of like reminded me, it was reminiscent of the guy in the Lake Erie saying, you have to self-report yourself to the officials in the United States. It's sort of like when TSA, a terrorist would not voluntarily submit himself to a TSA agent before he boarded an airplane. They are similar levels of absurdity here. And it's just, the question is, do you feel safe? Do you accept this in your country? Do you accept the status quo that you can voluntarily, a terrorist or a violent criminal voluntarily submit himself to an authorized representative of our government before committing an act of terror? It is a ridiculous thing, and that's what we're trying to show with our video, and it's getting a lot of attention. It was on the top of Drudge. It was broadcasted everywhere, and I think we're really hitting a chord with this whole border security issue.
That's right. You know what you're doing, because the mainstream media will not go report the reality, just like when Drudge and the New York Times and all the rest of them picked up our report, where our reporters got a tip in McAllen by the Border Patrol to go to the bus stop at dusk on the border, and literally dozens of Greyhound buses were loaded with illegals. Their IDs weren't checked, anything. They were given government vouchers to be bussed wherever they wanted, and that forced mainstream media to finally cover it. It took about 2 weeks. But that shows how scary and controlled state-run media is, that we have to embarrass them into reporting the fact that Obama has already opened the borders up.
Oh, you know, confidentially, we actually had producers for some of the network TV actually email us and say, we actually loved your report. These are people who are on the left. Some of them were in the center, but they actually loved the visual representation of it. Actually, someone going out, we actually go there. That's what Project Veritas does. We go there to get the story. And, you know, whatever you think about the state of our media, certainly you can acknowledge it's more interesting to go out into the field and collect video of what's happening on our Canadian border, on our Mexican border, than it is to sit into a cubicle and aggregate tweets all day. I mean, this is an important direction. I think, you know, I've been on your show. I've said many times that citizens have to be willing to risk their reputations for their country. They have to be willing to put themselves on the line. They have to be willing to go out there and do the job they're not doing. But now that I have TV producers at the major networks emailing me confidentially saying, James, I actually really liked your video. Well done. I almost feel like they wish they could go out and do these types of reports, but someone's got to do it. And nobody is being honest about what's happening on the border. They say the fence goes for 2 miles, it stops for 2 miles, it starts for 2 miles. And in Lake Erie, I've got a fishing boat captain telling me, this is unbelievable, that for the last 20 years, he's nary seen a Border Patrol agent. It really is, it shocks the conscience. And I think, just like the Ray Rice video came out yesterday in the elevator, it showed people, they already knew that the guy had punched, you know, his fiance. When you see it, when you see video of our borders, when you see these types of videos, it really illustrates it in a way that no policy research paper ever could. My hope is that this series of investigations that we're doing, and even the one you did, they outrage people to force their representatives to do something about the problem.
Well, I want my Bill of Rights and Constitution back, and I don't want the system to allow more attacks to take place because they get to take more of our liberties. We basically imitated your report and expanded on it because we thought it was a good idea and genius to do that, so that if there is a big terror attack this September 11th, as Homeland Security says they think there may be, that the government gets some of the blame here. Instead of just getting to get expanded budgets, we're here pointing out that why is the Border Patrol giving people tickets for drinking beer 20 miles from the border at a public or state park? Why is the different federal agencies and the Coast Guard pulling over our fishing boat in Port Aransas with a half dozen redfish in the hold and a few trout, wanting to inspect that we haven't overfished with my young children, while ISIS terrorists could just drive right in and blow stuff up? It just shows this whole apparatus is being used for revenue generation, that fisherman has never seen Border Patrol or Homeland Security. But I bet you $1 million he gets pulled over every week to get inspected to see how many fish he's caught with the tourists he brings out to catch a few fish.
We also got an email from someone in Canada who emailed us and said that they were crossing the border into the United States from Canada. And he said it was a ridiculous experience. His 10-year-old and 8-year-old got grilled of being suspicious terrorists for over an hour. And we've gotten all types of emails from Canadians. I myself have crossed into Canada from Michigan into Ontario, and I had to sit around for 2 hours as they looked at my criminal background, looked at my background as a journalist.
Oh, I was 14 hours and screamed at. It became national news. Because I was trying to cover Bilderberg up there in 2006. So it's a total joke. Why do you think they love to attack a dad with his 10-year-old or a family or someone they know has no criminal record, but then they will just let unlimited jihadis in to Canada? That's come out in the news.
That's a good question. I mean, the fact is they're not being honest with people about the extent of the problem. I mean, I've never even seen a report. Maybe there has been one about the Great Lakes. I didn't even know if there was Border Patrol in the Great Lakes. I didn't, when we went down to the border in Mexico and we showed that fence, we actually got CNN to show images of that fence. CNN had never even shown that part of Hudspeth County, Texas before, West Texas. So people need to be educated about this. I don't know if it's malicious. I don't know if it's intentional. We did get a response, like I said, from the Federal Border Patrol. They said they can't be everywhere at once. We have yet to get a response from the Canadian or the Canadian-American border officials. But it's interesting to know if their intention. I mean, I seriously, I know you have. I have been too. I've been harassed by federal agents on the border before. I had sat in a waiting room for an hour or two as they went through my history. So it is deeply ironic that now I'm getting notes from people saying, oh, I can't even get into the United States. They're harassing my child. They're looking at how many fish we've caught. But you can dress up like an ISIS guy, have big bags of labeled Ebola, and you can actually cross into America and not even have anyone say a word to you. It is a remarkable juxtaposition, and that's the important thing. That's why Project Veritas, that's why I believe in these visuals, juxtapositioning them together and showing people the truth. It's a very effective tool, and I hope we do get a response from the White House on this. And if we don't, maybe we do a part 3, because there's such intense interest about our borders. You
could do a flotilla with like 10 boats and call it an ISIS invasion and have them playing Wagner or something like Apocalypse Now, and maybe then when nothing's done, that would actually get some attention drawn to this. How do you respond? Because when we, basically redid what you did, but with a beheading and the guy with an ISIS flag, we saw a minority of people say, how dare you show the terrorist where to get into the country? My response is any real terrorist, the coyotes, the whole world knows, and I did know that the Great Lakes are wide open and the Canadian border is wide open and most of the Texas border is wide open. This is well known to everyone, but I think the average American, because our media keeps them in the dark. But I mean, how do you respond to that? Hey, why are you showing the terrorists how to attack us?
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty ridiculous criticism. I mean, the politicians, the only people that are shocked by this are the actual the fake shock, are the politicians who have said the direct opposite of what we are proving to be true. The idea that they don't know how to cross the United States. We showed a walking bridge, and a cast iron footbridge. You can actually walk into the United States. The notion that we're showing people how to cross from Canada into U.S. I mean, there's a big lake, and the captain, fisherman captain, said you can actually, it takes an hour to get a speedboat from Canada to the United States. And this is common sense here.
They famously ran all the whiskey during Prohibition across it.
It's common sense. You know, anybody knows that you can get from one side of the lake to the other side. We just wanted to show people that because we believe our mission is showing people is more powerful than talking about it, than writing a policy paper about it. And I don't even know why. No people in the network news have gone there and done it before, but I don't care. We need to do it.
Well, I know why, and I know you deep down probably know why. You got 3 or 4 companies that own all the old dinosaur media now. The executives up top, not just about price cutting, because they know it generates ratings to be in the field. They want to end journalism as it's known. The major global corporations that are anti-free market, that are preying on the rest of the free market corporations, the middle class and others, they don't want real journalism anymore. Just like Congress keeps cutting federal investigators from white-collar crime. White-collar criminals basically run the system now worldwide. They don't want media out there. They don't want a James O'Keefe. They don't want a Greg Palast. They don't want a Matt Drudge and Alex Jones, left, right, center, libertarian. It doesn't matter. They don't sleep at night because of that. They want it shut down. But because of that, they've created a vacuum. So the new golden age of media is returning. We're just the return of muckraking, the return of news being exciting because it's real. I mean, they've made news boring on purpose to kill it, to replace it with cooking shows. They put me on CNN. I've been on CNN like 6 or 7 times. Every time it's on the news that ratings double or triple. I mean, look, they could put me on the news, on national TV right now. I could save CNN in 1 week. Guaranteed. They could put you on CNN and you could program it. It would turn around. They know that. They want to kill it, James.
I think it's a combination of 3 factors. I think it is a little political, shared politics to an extent. A lot of these media officials just don't want to expose the issue of, say, border insecurity because that runs against their political ideology. I think it's also ambition. I think a lot of these journalists want to be somebody and they want to use their sources. But I also think there's a little bit of fear here. They are afraid. People are genuinely afraid of their government, of their IRS, of the retribution they might face if they go out on a limb and say something they shouldn't say.
It's the chilling effect.
It's the chilling. There is a chilling effect. So, you know, if nothing more, hopefully our the efforts of Project Veritas inspire some people that, you know, we've already seen there's a Daily Caller article today came out. And
James, I know you got to go, but we got you on a little bit late. Do 5 more minutes to talk about the Daily Caller article, to talk about Breakthrough, your book that we sell at InfoWarsStore.com, and to give us a hint of what's coming next. Alex Jones here with a very important announcement for truth seekers. We've carried a lot of amazing films and books over the years on the online video bookstore at InfoWars.com. And out of all the titles we've carried, one stands out because it is just so chillingly convincing. And that's Dreams from My Real Father by Joel Gilbert, available at InfoWars.com. This film exposes the fraud that Obama is like nothing I've seen. If you want to know who Obama's real daddy is, this is the film for you. Don't forget, your purchase supports our broadcast and our growing media network. You'll also find at InfoWarsShop.com None Dare Call It Conspiracy by Gary Allen, the book that woke me up. We're also carrying Behind the Green Mask, UN Agenda 21 by Rosa Corey. This book is coffin nails to the globalist takeover. The Greater Good, the most professional and up-to-date film I've ever seen exposing the scourge that is vaccines. These titles and a lot more are all available at InfoWarsShop.com. Coming up next hour, microphones have been hidden all over the country for more than a decade. They're now going public with them. In some reports, CBS News, they admit they're listening to you. Others, they call them gunshot detectors. The games they play. Your phone calls are coming up here in about 5 minutes. We have a special report just got filed by John Bound for the radio/TV that we're simulcasting dealing with Ebola. But finishing up with James O'Keefe of the Project Veritas.com, author of Breakthrough. We've actually sold out of it right now. We got 10 copies left, but it's not at InfoWarsStore.com. You can get it everywhere else or on the Veritas Project. This is a Bible of how to become the real media yourself. The answer here is, I mean, I love seeing more people successful, more people having big breakthroughs, because we're all in this together. It's going to be the truth that saves us, that sets us free, as Christ said. But James, in closing, you were getting into a story on Daily Caller today, and then I wanted to ask you, without giving away too much, what's coming next?
Well, just as to add to your point about inspiring others, you know, a lot of people have been trying to do what Project Veritas does. There's a story today on Daily Caller about a guy who went to Culver County, Maryland, and actually showed that the security power plant, the nuclear power plant, the security was so lax that people could walk right into it. So the point is that we're inspiring people to follow in our footsteps. We're allowing people an opportunity to make their voice heard, either being directly inspired or sending us tips. And we do have a tip line. It's info@projectveritas.com. We're a nonprofit, and we use tax-deductible donations to fund our work. And if you want to send us an idea, we read all of our tips. It's info@projectveritas.com. I encourage people to reach out to us and definitely buy Breakthrough. It's a New York Times bestseller. It's now in paperback. Alex, to talk to your producer. I'll send you some more books if you need more of them. But it is a manifesto. It's a handbook for people who want to do this and don't want to learn the lessons the hard way, because I have learned all the lessons the hard way in becoming a citizen journalist.
I've read it, and I've been doing this 20 years, and I learned a lot. And you're an inspiration for us. That's how it works. We're all in this together, promoting liberty, exposing the fact that the dinosaur media does not have our best interest at heart. And now its ratings have basically disappeared. It was a shadow of itself just a few years ago. Now it's a shadow of a shadow. Where do you see Obama and the whole collectivist legacy going? We're about to see a big Republican landslide. The problem is a lot of those guys are neocons, they're rhinos who helped write Obamacare, who helped write the amnesty. Where do you see all that going?
I mean, if we can increase this journalistic revolution we have, if we can create more viral moments, if we can capture more candid conversations of self-dealing, dishonesty, abuse, hypocrisy, corruption, if we can have an information revolution and show people what these campaign people are saying when no one's looking, if we can reveal what political officials are saying, maybe to their own private campaign people, but not to the public, if we can do that, then I think that that'll be the start of something great. And that's what, to answer your question about what's coming next, that's sort of what we have planned. We are looking not only in areas that you've seen us look at, but in some new areas, in some congressional areas. And we're looking at these areas to try to find where our politicians are lying and how they're lying. And we can drive the debate. We can look at Drudge. I mean, Drudge carried our piece yesterday, was the top, he's the assignment editor for the press. He's driving the debate. And I think they're going to get caught in the shadows. A lot of these, if the news media is not willing to take their cameras where people want to see in the shadows, then we'll take our cameras and everyone will look at us. Everyone will tune into ProjectVeritas.com for the next video, because that's what everyone's doing. And that's what we need to do. We just need to scale this. We need to do more of it. And I think everything will change as long as we get these things on video and disseminate them widely.
Absolutely. I mean, I look at what we're doing, what you're doing, what even Vice is doing. They do it in a little bit more worldly way. That's the blueprint of covering the issues. People want to know about what's going on in North Korea. People want to know about vaccine cover-ups. People want to know, like when you go in to Akron and just say, hey, I want to run child sex slaves. And they go, absolutely, it's wonderful. It really shows people that these are gangsters. And Republicans are corrupt and have their own problems. But the more I investigate the Democrats, man, you go into any Democratic office or just get around these people, they really are like villains. And if other people will just infiltrate them and record them, we will have their whole battle plan, and it'll be clear that this is a criminal takeover. James O'Keefe, great job yet again. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, folks. There goes James O'Keefe. Very exciting what he's doing. And I've got my reporters looking at what he's doing. I mean, going and putting signs up. Or going to Holder's house and saying, we want you to put a gun-free zone sign in your yard. Or we want you to not have bodyguards because you want everybody else to not have guns. Or showing how Piers Morgan has a armed response sign in his yard with armed bodyguards at his house saying, there are armed bodyguards here. You have any idea how much that costs? Hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Piers Morgan lives in a gated community with armed guards. I know the community. I've been in it, incidentally, before, somebody's house. There's armed guards up here, and then at his house, there's armed guards in a van that drive around, and he's got armed response. Michael Moore's got 6 armed bodyguards. I've run into them. I've had them come over and physically run into me on video in my martial law film in New York. I just wanted to ask him a question as he came out of a restaurant. And they started bumping into me. And they were packing, folks. He's had his bodyguard arrested at the airport packing illegally before. This guy has bodyguards, but gets on MSNBC and says white people that own guns are racist, trying to connect that to it when he knows full well the history of the NRA. No more lies, you disgusting demon. No more fraud. We're going to expose it. And that's what I'm looking for, is for all of you to just go out there and to start exposing. Start your own access shows. Start your own YouTube channel. Immediately. the COINTELPRO feds, the cognitive infiltrators that Cass Sunstein at the White House writes about, are going to come hit you with bots and call you a murderer or call you a drug dealer to make you schizophrenically start fighting with them. The minute you ignore them and the minute you move on and do original reporting, you will then start having a big effect. But most people get attacked day one by the trolls, and then that ends up being their whole world, and it screws them up. So the number one lesson is be bold, be fearless, ignore the detractors. And they will have no effect. Because they attack your character saying you're racist or you're a drug dealer or you're whatever you are, because that's all they've got. And they want to divert you off of your mission, which is expose the globalists. They're the ones devaluing the dollar. They're the ones opening the border. They're the ones pushing GMO. They're the ones putting fluoride in the water. They're the ones giving heat-seeking missiles, IMPAD, surface-to-air missiles to Al-Qaeda. They're the ones. They're the main drivers of global instability and problems. Don't get diverted off into you could have done better camera work or, you're probably CIA or blah, blah, blah. No. Go do your reports. Keep your nose to the grindstone. You cannot be stopped except by God. It basically comes down to that. There is so much you can do, ladies and gentlemen. There is so much. You go into if you've got corrupt politicians that are doing bad things, you start going to city council. You start following them around. You become a news source in your area. People will start giving you the intel you need.
City of Austin tap water versus filtered City of Austin tap water.
I can taste dirt in it.
God knows what's in this.
This has an aftertaste.
Tastes like Austin water? Yeah, it does. Ugh.
These people just sampled City of Austin tap water straight from the faucet. Next, we had them try a sample of tap water filtered through the ProPure G2.0 filtration system.
High quality H2O.
That one is better.
Tastes like nothing.
Yep, I know what good water tastes like. It's good water.
Most tap water contains added substances like fluoride, chlorine, Monsanto's deadly pesticide, glyphosate, and many others. Studies prove that these substances are linked to an assortment of major health issues, including tooth decay, lowered IQ, and even cancer.
It tastes like you're drinking out of the lake when you're drinking tap water.
Yeah, it has that processed flavor to it.
The ProPure G2.0 filtration system removes these deadly substances and many more, leaving only fresh-tasting, deliciously clean water.
Okay, this is very tasty.
It's good water.
Refreshing.
It's good.
Go to InfoWarsStore.com today. Use promo code WATER and save 10% off your ProPure purchase. Again, that's InfoWarsStore.com or call 1-888-253-3139.